Hey, congratulations for what you wish for.
Thank you very much.
Hey, more of a congratulations. I know it's been a while since you were in the the director's chair, but it's being showcased at Fantastic Fest, which is one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world. So tell us how you feel about this.
I feel thrilled about that. I think that the Fantastic Audience is a really, sort of fervent, well-informed, cinema-loving audience. So I'm stoked to be in that festival. I've never been to Austin. It'll be my first time going there, and obviously to the festival too. So I'm looking forward to the whole experience.
Most excellent. I hope you have a great experience there too. But this is a fantastic movie. I did not know what to expect, especially with the one sentence synopsis. But we got to know is where the original idea came from for your film.
Well, it's a combination of lots of stuff. Sort of being in my 40s, the idea of what it means to be in your 40s and your potential is no longer the thing, and it's like what you really are. What are you really? It's no longer I'm going to be. It's like I'm this. And then it's also influenced by Patricia Highsmith probably, and the Treasure of Sierra Madre, and those ideas. And then, finally, I think probably it was just a reaction to where we are in the world right now, and how, sort of greed and profit is sort of trumping everything, sort of more important than anything else, and how that's what that really means.
Most excellent. So was this filmed in Colombia?
It was, yeah. So the film is it's in an undisclosed location, um, but we did film in Colombia, yeah.
Now, how did you come to the decision to use Colombia as a setting? I guess what I'm getting at is that you could have easily done it anywhere around the world. Heck, you could have done it in your own backyard if you have to.
I like the idea that it was set in a developing sort of region, because I think that's going to ties into the idea of what's happening in the film. I mean, I don't want to spoil the film, but an organization that's coming in and sort of exploiting people, and I think that's. But at the same time, it's a region. In the film, it's a region of incredible natural beauty, and so it's that combination of sort of poverty and less industry and beauty, and how it's easily exploited by you know the powerful. And so that's why it was set there. I mean, yeah, and it could have been set in lots of different places, but I chose Latin America because I felt like it offered both those both those aspects.
I know we're trying not to. I'm trying to be careful not to spoil it either. But I it's not a spoiler if we could talk about that beautiful house that you actually has that as a setting. I mean that is a one interesting setup to do a film, and I don't think that's actually easy because it's not it's not four walls and a room.
Yeah. I mean, so it was really important that the house be like that, because I think that, I mean, the whole intention of the film is that it's told subjectively, right? We're, from Ryan's point of view, we're experiencing this story as he is every beat of the way. The information is being given to us when it's given to him, and so immediately I wanted us as an audience to, when they see this house, to think, "Oh, yes, this is what I want. I want this. This is amazing. And it has to feel aspirational, and it has to feel beautiful." Because that's the seductive power of it, right? And then so the character is feeling that, and we're feeling that, and so yeah, the house had to be great, and it took some doing. I saw a lot of houses that were just like okay, but they weren't like that level. And then miraculously, we did find this house, and as soon as we did, it was fairly clear that it was going to be the house.
So all the rooms were actually intact. You didn't have to build anything. I'm actually referring to like a like a basement level or anything like
The
that.
basement was a set, yeah, and again, not to spoil the film, but the pool, that door under the pool, that was incredible. I mean, it was written in the script that there is some concealed door, and that happened to be there. There's a pool room, like a very small utility pool room. So yeah, so finding that room
Mhm.
was a real windfall. And then we built out the set, you know for the interior of that.
Most excellent. Well, the film revolves around a chef, and I have to talk about the culinary dishes because one thing, the culinary dish is a primary plot focus of this film, but it looks so good. tell,
Yeah,
tell,
thank you.
tell us about the accomplishments. You brought a professional chef, or was it you?
We did. We had a food stylist, and she'd come in, and she thought it was a very interesting gig job for her. She'd never, I mean, not to spoil the film, but she was like, I'd never considered this before. How I'd approach this. I had researched the food before, and in the script, I figured out what the menu would be. Um, but yeah, so we had a food stylist, and it was important that the food looked great. Obviously, it's sort of part of the film, part of the sort of conceit of the film. So that's how we approach that.
So how did you want to film those type of scenes? What's your
Well,
approach?
I didn't want it to be kind of gratuitous and sort of horror-ish in the way that the food is presented. We know what's going on, and so I just actually wanted the opposite. I wanted it to look just like wonderful, and um, because that's the reality of the situation. That's what the guests are paying for, right? They're paying for a wonderfully catered and delicious looking meal. So that was fairly easy to do. It's just like, let's make this look good, you know.
Wow. And I'm going to carefully word this. I want, without spoiling, tell us about the props of how you use the props as the ingredients for your culinary dishes.
Use the props.
Yeah, as the I'm referring to the ingredients. How talk about the prop designs for those.
Oh well, the everything in the movie is practically done. There's a little bit of CGI with the fire, but yeah, that was all practical stuff. And yeah, I don't really want to talk about that because that's going to give it away. If that's all right.
How about this? I know it in your industry. There's always that debate between practical effects and CGI effects. And you went with the practical much more than CGI. Tell us about that decision.
Well, first of all, it was budgetary, right? This is a low budget movie. We don't have a lot. We don't have a budget for CGI or anything like that. But also, I think practical is just it just every time I see a practical effect on screen, for me, it just reads as more real and more tactile and visceral. And CGI can sometimes remove you from the experience. And yeah, it's just my preference. I prefer practical. I think it just lends itself to the experience of watching a film in a more convincing way.
Now, Nick Stahl basically is the film. I mean, he's there from nearly start to finish. Talk about working with him on this production.
Nick is very humble and sensitive, intelligent actor and man, and I feel like the film. I view this film as a noir movie in terms of. I think that there is really no antagonist. I think that he's his own antagonist, as all noir movies are sort of. And so he, for me, is just a great noir hero. He can communicate being a flawed but empathetic person very, very well. And I think that if you look at the kind of films that he likes to make, this is not that dissimilar to the sort of stuff that he's drawn to. And it was fun working with Nick. I mean, he's just a really clever, subtle actor who is understood the script and understood what we were trying to achieve in each scene, and we would just if there was any kind of we'd often have a discussion about what the scene was about and what how Ryan was feeling and why he was feeling this way, and then he would just do it, and I would often say by take three, that's great, let's move on.
He didn't have to prepare for his role, because I didn't think that this was I do think it was a fairly difficult role in it, and any type of that uses specific skills like honing on your chef
Yeah,
skills.
he had some cooking classes that I actually don't think he was as diligent as he could have been, to be completely frank. But he did do them. Uh, and I don't know, it's funny. At the end of the day, the last day was this massive 18-hour day that we shot in the basement. And, because it was the last day and we had this short schedule. And at the end of the day, into the last shot, Nick turned to Randy, who was playing Detective Ruiz, and was like, man, that was a really hard job, you know. And so I know that he really gave it his all. I mean, he put himself in it and he put himself through it. He also had some food poisoning during the shoot, which wasn't great. But all of it sort of just lent itself, and he wasn't sleeping brilliantly. You know, all of it lent itself, I think, to the character of Ryan feeling harassed. You know, which is what he's doing through the whole movie.
That is true. That is true. And you mentioned it was a short schedule. How challenging was that? Especially, I can't imagine being, on an NG budget in a foreign country doing this.
When we started shooting day one, the cinematographer and the first AD said to me, "We have an expression here in Colombia, which is every setup's an hour." And I said, "Really?" Because in this film, every setup's half an hour. So they, I mean, and the crew were just not used to moving as quickly. Maybe I think it's just a different sort of pace, and so that was challenging just to get the speed up. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't ridiculously short, but it was pretty short. It was 23 days, and the budget was low, and so I mean, I was pining for an experience where you don't worry about time. Like I just was thinking, well, how amazing would it be to be in a situation where I'm not just thinking about making the day, because that's what and I mean, that's at least what I was doing. I was just like, I got to get these setups, and I got to keep the quality up, and it's got to, and it's just, and you've got to hope that you're prepared, and that that the acting on a low budget, that the actors are cast well, and the sets are all right, because you don't have time to adjust, and change. You just have to, and we really only had like 3 takes per scene. And I was telling them, well, Friedkin gives you one, and they were like, what? Like, I'd read that William Friedkin would famously give actors like 1 take. So obviously, I mean, so we did it. It was low budget for sure, but it is what it is. You just try and make the best film you can with what you have.
Most excellent. I'm going to throw in a fun. Hopefully, you can answer this question to end this conversation. Was how was your guys' palate at the end? What was the food at the wrap party?
We didn't go to a wrap party. We went to a nightclub because we finished really, really late, and the production designer had a friend who was running a nightclub in Bogota. So we ended up going to a nightclub. I don't think I ate anything. I just stood around looking sort of, stupefied.
Well, there we go. Well, Nick, hey, thank you very much for talking to us about what you wish for. This was spoiler free, and people will be certainly surprised when they actually watch this at Fantastic Fest, and hopefully at more locations afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Geek. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank
See
you.
you.